Hey guys, welcome back to the Engage Your Destiny podcast. I'm Ben Peterson, the founder and CEO of Engage Your Destiny. It is such an honor that you would take some time to listen to this story today. Before we get into this unbelievable journey of faith of one of our warfighters, I want to encourage you to go to engageyourdestiny.org, learn about the great work that we are doing to advance faith in the military. And if you would, please make a tax-deductible donation and support this great work so that we can continue it in the military. You can also get a copy of the Engage Your Destiny book, Practical Ways to Run After Your God-Given Purpose. We are giving copies away to every military person that we train. So when you get that book, you are supporting putting it in the hands of our military. We have an incredible story for you today of Brad Penley, an EOD operator who is now in command, and we have such an incredible opportunity to hear his story. So stay tuned and let's get after it.
This is the Engage Your Destiny podcast, where your destiny is our mission. Serving our active military, veterans, and families. Welcome to the show.
Brad, thanks for coming on the show, man.
Appreciate you having
It's an
me.
honor to have you here, dude. So before we get started, I'd love to give you a gift. So this is our We Go Together. I'm gonna bracelet you.
Appreciate
Look at
it.
those meat hooks, man. I was hard to get that on there. So this is our bracelet that we do for We Go Together. It's one of our anthems with Engage Your Destiny. We go 2 by 2, right? We do everything as a team, as a brotherhood, as a family. And so by doing this, you're now coming on and you're a part of our crew.
I appreciate
So
it.
thanks
Part of
for-
the team. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks for being brave and coming in and telling your story, man.
Absolutely.
I want to read a little bit of your bio. So you are Brad Penley. You were born in Hickory, North Carolina. Is that like middle of nowhere, North Carolina?
Yeah, western middle of nowhere.
Yeah, got it. You joined the Navy in 2003 and went through the Naval Academy.
Mhm.
You've been in for 22 years. You've been in explosive ordnance disposal, EOD, for 18 years. You've been on 5 deployments. You were on the show Bomb Patrol Afghanistan, which came out after the Hurt Locker. You're married, been married for a year, and you have 2 kids.
That's right.
And like a brand new baby.
Brand new baby. Yeah, 1 month old.
And are you sleeping?
I'm getting great sleep. My wife is amazing. So makes
my,
it easy.
my life rocks.
Yeah, my life is pretty awesome now.
That's awesome, dude. Well, let's start at the beginning. You know, we had the opportunity to interview your brother Craig, who's obviously on the Engage Your Destiny team, but would love to hear more. I know you guys had a competitive all boys, growing up, and you're the oldest. So, what was that? What was childhood like with your brothers and with your family?
Childhood when I grew up was always a competition just for attention. I remember family videos. They would be really focused on the twins at the times, and my head would be bobbing up, like just trying to get attention into there. But
So Brad and his brother, what's his brother's name?
my younger brother's Craig, and
Yep,
he has
Craig.
a twin brother, Micah.
Got it.
So they're 4 years younger than me.
So you're 4 or 5 years old, and now you've got twins. So it's like you remember specifically fighting for attention.
Yeah, at that point in time, I mean, all the focus was on them, and I had a lot of energy.
Yeah.
Luckily, we lived in a neighborhood with a lot of other boys, so my mom would just open the door and say, "Come back," like at dark.
Yeah.
Or if something was broken or bleeding or something like that, come back. But it was a lot of brotherly tension, not always in a negative way, but in a iron sharpens iron way early that we didn't even know that we were doing it that way. But the parents, any parent, once you have more than one kid, you start getting spread thin. Mom worked a lot, and her work ethic is one of the most beautiful things about her.
What'd she do?
She was an elementary school principal.
Okay.
And at that time, it was like one of the more better known figures in our community, as well as from just a leadership standpoint. And all the parents knew her, all the community leaders knew her, and she had a big role to play.
Yeah.
But also played a big role in our church, always helping to lead worship or leading Vacation Bible School.
Wow.
And then Dad was working 1 or 2 jobs more often than not, just to try and keep everything afloat. And so I think they were spread thin, as most parents are when they have young kids at home.
Yeah.
So there was
Capacity, energy, emotional capacity.
exactly.
Yeah.
And whether you know it or not, you're trying to vie for attention. You're trying to for engagement with your parents, and sometimes that sparks creative competition with your brothers, of which I'm the oldest, and I knew I kind of had to lead the way.
Yeah.
And I think my parents really put a lot of pressure on me being the first, especially my mom,
Yeah.
not to be perfect, but to achieve excellence.
Yeah.
B's weren't accepted in my house.
Wow.
I mean, A's were the only way you could go, or you were grounded.
Wow.
Piano lessons were a must, and all my friends would be out playing. Um, and so mom really like wrote us hard for athletics, for education, to
Yeah.
just be exemplary. And then my dad also had a work ethic in a different way than my mom, but anything that needed to be done, he needed to do it
Yeah.
hands on. He wasn't going to pay somebody else to fix a thing, or he wasn't going to pay anybody else to do yard work. So I remember one time of a giant mulch truck coming to our house and dropping this huge load of mulch in the front yard.
Yeah.
Except it all needed to go to the backyard.
Yep.
So my job in July at like 104 degrees was wheelbarrow by wheelbarrow moving this mulch while my friends were out playing. And I think that just helped incorporate this level of grit into all of us kind of at a young age. And then my parents had this crazy idea when I was about 12, the boys were 8, to build a log cabin. And of course, they wanted to build this log cabin. They had land in the mountains to do it that my
Wow.
grandfather gave them, but they didn't want anybody else to build it for them. So for 4 years, me and my brothers used power tools, cleared this land, build the whole interior of this, living in it like you would be camping. And we
How old
hated.
were you?
I was 12 to 16.
Come
We
on, dude.
spent every weekend and every summer doing that. So if I wasn't swimming or doing school, we were up there
Building.
and working. And my brothers were even younger, using power tools and learning how to do this. And it just sucked. And I remember missing most of my friends, like parties or things at school, extracurricular activities, dances, sports things. Like we just didn't attend those. We just worked. And at the time, I hated it so much. But as a shout out to my parents now, it's like they weren't trying to make happy teenagers. They were trying to create successful adults.
Yeah.
And I think they really did well in that looking back. But at the time, it was just like, we hated them. We hated how much they made us work. We never had a down moment, it felt like, growing up.
Wow. So did you feel loved?
I definitely felt loved. But more often than not, I felt pushed more than I thought I could handle.
Yeah.
Or more than I thought I had the capacity
Yeah.
to handle. And almost times that my achievements that I did achieve weren't good enough.
Yeah.
And there was always the next level I had to get to or go to, which, I mean, thankfully, that really pushed me past what I thought I could do at my own capability level, which is amazing of them to do that. So it was a tough love to kind of get there. And I really think they did that because they wanted all of us to have a better life than they had, which should be the goal of every parent.
For sure.
To give your kid a better life than you had. And I remember one time, I mean, I don't know if my parents were like strapped for money or dad was going from one job to another job, but one time I had to go to my mom, for lunch money, and she had to dig into these bag of silver coins that her dad had given her as a gift, and they were sentimental and meant something, and she gave it to me to go have lunch money that day. And that kind of always stuck with me, of her sacrificial love.
Yeah.
But also knowing that she wanted to push us so we would be successful in our own right.
But you felt safe enough to go ask for that lunch money,
Right.
knowing that they were struggling.
Yeah.
So there's something to be said there. It's interesting. I felt afraid to ask for lunch money. So there were many times I didn't have it
Yeah.
for lunch. And, because I didn't feel safe in my home, right? So like the fact that you felt safe enough to ask, right? There's something there where they establish something in you of, you can come to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, our parents, I mean, they were involved in the church. My dad was a deacon, and my mom was always wrapped up in something there. So we always felt like their love,
Yeah.
and love from our grandparents and the kind of church community as we were coming up. So there was no lack of love. There was no lack of discipline
Yeah.
either.
Yeah.
And just heavy amounts of discipline also, which probably contributed to my teenage years of rebellion. And at one point in time, I was swimming at a high level in high school. My dad got a new job. They had to move back to Hickory. We were living in another town, and they gave me the option to stay back and keep swimming with this team and this coach I was swimming with, which gave me this aura of autonomy
Yeah.
early on, which was great. I was doing well in school. I was doing well in swimming, so they let me stay with some other families and do that. And then I decided to come back and be with them, but by that time they didn't have a room for me. So my brothers were staying with my parents, and I could come back and live with my grandma, who was
Yeah.
across town. Um, but by then, like, my wings had kind of been spread,
Yeah.
and I was not ready to be clipped at all. And then that's when a lot of rebellion started happening. But the problem was, and then what eventually led to a heavy downfall later in my life was I was able to perform in every way that the world wanted me to perform, in school, in athletics, socially,
Yeah.
while still doing things that were extremely detrimental to my life, my well-being,
Which is like
my
what?
relationships. I started looking at pornography. I think the first time I saw pornography when I was like 5 years old. And then I was pretty heavy into porn by the time I was 13. And this is the rise, the internet started coming up, and
Yep.
the whole parts of my day would be consumed. I remember just like whole summer days, I'd be like by myself in between swim practices, and pornography would consume me. And then it wasn't too much longer when I was about 15, 16, and alcohol really started coming into the scene. I remember the first day I skipped school, and we got a bottle of vodka and orange juice and had screwdrivers, and I threw up so much.
Yeah.
I came home. I knew I had to go to swim practice that afternoon, but I couldn't function. I was living with my grandma at the time, and she's the sweetest lady ever. And I didn't want her to know that I'd been drinking. So it was like, then started like closet alcoholism,
Wow.
or what then developed into like very high performing alcoholism, where I could get blackout drunk on a Friday night and then get up the next morning and do a 3 hour workout and beat anybody that was doing the workout with me, and could do that consistently until, it really, really took a toll later in my life. And I really feel like evil doesn't smack you in the face. It always tiptoes in through the back door and starts just adding one link of a chain onto you at a time. So you don't realize how burdened you've become with every step, with every link that's getting added
And how
onto you.
shackled you are.
How shackled you are. So it took me clear into my 30s to find out that I was in bondage to pornography, and I was in bondage to alcohol, and that was something I needed to break. I got baptized when I was 13. I'd grown up in the church, like I knew who Jesus was. I knew, that if I believed in him, he'd save me. What I didn't know at the time, and what a lot of new Christians or even people that have been practicing for a long time don't know, that you can believe in Christ and still be held in bondage to these different things of the world. Not only that, man, being in bondage to pride was huge. I was completely addicted to social media and through that, people pleasing, which ended up carrying just a tremendous burden in my career and relationally, as I was always trying to make everybody happy, which just drained me completely as I went on.
Wow.
Have you ever wondered how you can make an impact in the military? Have you ever sat back and said, man, I wish I would have served. I wish I could do more for this country. Well, today I want to call you into the fighting force. Guys, Engage Your Destiny is reducing suicide on military bases across the world, and we have 5 locations currently where we are doing direct ministry and follow-up with soldiers, and we have more bases that are opening up to us in New York, in Korea, in Kuwait, in places that I would have never even thought in my life could open up to us. And so that's where I'm making an appeal to you. This is only possible through donors and through the selfless sacrifice of you supporting our ministry on a monthly basis. I want to encourage you that benefactors as well as foundations have made our operational budget possible so that 100% of your gifts go directly towards soldiers in the military all over the world. When you partner with us, you're going to get one of our gift boxes, which is filled with some incredible treats that are going to bless your life, that you can wear, that you can show proudly, and that you can drink your coffee out of. So friends, come and join the fighting force, and let's advance this mission today.
So why the Navy?
I was swimming at a high level at that team in High Point, North Carolina, and there was another swimmer that was a couple years ahead of me named Nathan Hagee. And he was just an amazing guy, somebody I really looked up to. And he graduated high school. He had long, curly brown hair, and he went someplace called the Naval Academy. I didn't know what that was. And he came back with a shaved head, but when he came back, it was like the whole town like just celebrated this guy.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, what is this? And
I want to be loved like that.
Yeah, and I was like, I want to be admired like that. Like, what is this guy doing? Like, what is this whole thing? And then, unbeknownst to me, he had a recruiting officer. There's like regional recruiting officers for service academies, and they're called blue and gold officers for the Navy. And that blue and gold officer said, "Hey, Nathan, do you have anybody else that you think would be interested and capable of doing this?" And he gave him my name, which was super humbling, and that kind of piqued my interest at an early age, maybe 8th grade, freshman year of high school. Then when we moved back to Hickory, North Carolina, I was a junior and sitting in Mike Pasor's history class when we saw the planes hit the towers and saw the second plane hit the tower, and just felt an unbelievable urge and calling to do something.
Yeah.
And so I had kind of matched that up with the Naval Academy. The global war on terror had just started. I was swimming at a high level and found out the Naval Academy, like other D1 schools, had a swim team. So I got recruited by them to swim for the Naval Academy, and went into the Naval Academy thinking I was going to be a Navy doctor because I had done some internships over a local doctor in our neighborhood that was an amazing mentor, amazing guy.
Yeah.
So that's what I thought I was going into. And then the first couple months of the Naval Academy is plebe summer, and that's just when you basically get stripped of everything that you thought you knew.
Yeah.
And you're a
You said
plebe, which is a
Bleeps?
slave.
Bleeps?
Plebe summer?
Plebe summer. What is
Yeah.
plebe?
It's an old Greek word meaning slave.
Okay. So
And
slave
so-
summer.
Yeah, your head shaved. You own nothing that's your own.
Yeah.
Your toothbrush is not your own.
Yeah.
Your underwear is not your own.
Yeah.
Everything is issued. Everybody's the same. And they're stripping you of all your old identity
Yeah.
and building you into something new. And that's when they basically told me that only a few people will get to go to be a Navy doctor, and you're not going to be one of them.
Wow.
And I was like, okay. And then I got into plebe year, and plebe chemistry was like the hardest class you can imagine. There was like 2 killers of plebes, and it was plebe chemistry and plebe calculus.
Yeah.
And would not fail a lot of people. But after I couldn't barely pass that, I was like, Navy doctor's probably not for me. And then I spent a couple years wandering about, trying to figure out what I was being called to do or what I needed to do.
Yeah.
Each summer we get to go to do training blocks. One summer block you get to go with the Marines. One summer block you get to fly airplanes or go on subs.
Oh, wow.
Or go on ships. And all of that was like, it was okay. It was fun. It was the first time I was experiencing the world and getting outside of Hickory, North
And
Carolina.
who'd you go with?
And so by the last summer, all the guys on the varsity men's swim team, not all, but a lot of them were either going Navy Special Warfare, SEALs, or EOD.
Yeah.
So I went and checked out the EOD units over one summer, and I was sitting in the operations officer office, and like 4 new enlisted guys walked in the office, and they looked like sentinels, like the embodiment of what every 1940s Navy poster looked like. Just barrel-chested guys, giant arms, decked out in their whites. And I was like, I want to be with these guys.
I want to be with these guys.
And then you go through a pretty strenuous selection process at the Naval Academy, which includes like a weekend screener of no sleep and 24 hours of beatdown session, and a bunch of physical screening tests just to get to that. So you had to perform at a peak level to either go NSW or EOD. And you make it through that first set of screeners, second set of screener, and then you can go to the screening weekend. And then if you perform well during that, then you can go to the summer cruise with an EOD command. And then at that EOD command, you're getting screened again. And then they'll give recommendations of who they want in the community after they've experienced those people. After all that said and done, you go through
real quick. What is EOD?
Explosive Ordnance Disposal.
And what does that mean?
Explosive ordnance disposal, they take care of all remnants of war or impedance to assault. So we clear everything from landmines to unexploded bombs, missiles, rockets. And Navy does specifically underwater ordnance to include torpedoes and mines underwater. So
and you wanted to be in that community.
I found out I wanted to be in that community. It was the smallest community in the Navy. There's only about 400 officers, about 1,200 enlisted. At the time, it was the best known secret. Nobody even knew about it. I'd never heard about it. I didn't even know this was part of the Navy. We don't get briefs on this at the Naval Academy. It was relatively unknown if it wouldn't have been for swimming on the swim team and have a couple guys ahead of me go into explosive ordnance disposal. And at the time, in 2007, the war in Iraq was hot and heavy. It had changed from an assault to irregular warfare. And same thing happened to Afghanistan, whereas no longer firefight on firefight, but an insurgency was rising there. And 80% of the coalition casualties were from improvised explosive devices, IEDs, typically called roadside bombs. And the NSW guys at the time were doing like VIP support, very important person like support and security, but not doing a whole lot of direct combat missions. And the EOD guys were running nonstop, and it was the greatest need. And I was like, that's what I want to do. My mom was not overly happy about my career choice at the time, but after graduation, we just happened to be walking in downtown Annapolis outside the Naval Academy, and a 2 or 3-star admiral in his uniform was walking. We bumped into him, and he saw that I just graduated, and he asked me what I was going to do. And I said, explosive ordnance disposal. You could see the worry on my mom's face, who's standing right next to me. And he just looked at her and he said, "Don't worry, ma'am. They're the best trained we have in all of the military."
Wow.
And so from that moment on, I got a little confidence. I was like, okay, I hope what he's saying is right. And then my mom, got a little confidence. But man, once I did get into the training pipeline, it is just mind blowing about how many resources and how much capability they build into each individual sailor that goes through that. From just a dollar amount, millions of dollars per person gets put into our training pipeline, which is over 2 years long.
Wow.
From the time you start to the time you finish.
Wow. So how long was your training?
The training pipeline for explosive ordnance disposal is about 2 years. You first go down to Navy dive school in Panama City, Florida. At the time, it was 3 months. Now it's 6 months. The officers go through what's called joint diving officer, and you learn how to do all kinds of combat diving, from scuba diving to different rebreathers that we have to use. And specifically for EOD, there's an underwater rebreather that is non-magnetic, so you can dive in a minefield that could be set off by magnetic signatures. And now our junior officers get hard hat training, so you can be a deep sea Navy diver and run a deep sea Navy diving mission for salvage and heavy salvage as well.
And where's your faith at in this whole portion of going to EOD and starting this process?
I think coming out of high school and into the Naval Academy, my faith was so surface level.
Yeah.
I'd grown up in the church and I knew it was a thing you did on Sundays. I was saved, but I didn't know that I was walking on a day-to-day basis with like a personal relationship with Jesus. I would go to chapel on Sundays when I wasn't too hungover because it felt nostalgic.
Yep.
And it felt like healthy to be there and to be kind of like out of the chaos for a while and just listen to some old hymns that I knew, think about my family, sometimes think about how I could be better, but it was very loose, and more just a religious act and not so much a relationship. And then definitely as I graduated, I was partying my brains out at the last year at the Naval Academy. And then afterwards, we're so excited that we got through. We're so excited that we survived. The whole culture back then was just go out and get blackout drunk, celebrate with drinking, everything, all of our social engagements revolved around drinking. So it wouldn't be uncommon for me to just be completely hungover at church when I showed up. And I'm sorry to anybody that sat next to me and had to smell that. But, that was just the culture and nobody really looked down on it. Nobody really said there was a problem with it. And so I didn't think I had a problem with it. It was just what everybody did. And I was still performing at such a high level. I didn't think I had any problems.
Yeah.
And then once you go into EOD training,
which are they? Because I mean, I've interviewed a lot of SEALs and operators and different things like that, and it feels like at SEAL training they're just trying to kill you, and try to get you to quit. Is that the same kind of thing in EOD? I mean, are they spraying you with fire hoses?
Yeah, before I started dive school, back then dive school was a screening school.
Yeah.
So I think a couple classes before me, somebody died from heat stroke.
Getting pushed that hard.
Getting pushed that hard. We definitely have multiple people during each pool phase, which is where you learn to just absorb the highest level of pressure underwater. You're getting punched, you're getting hit, you're getting all your equipment ripped off of you, and then you have to just take it. And then you have to calmly reestablish everything to make sure you're in control.
And when you say punched, are you talking about like a thing or like
literally like elbows to the face?
Yeah.
I remember there were supposed to be soft, medium, heavy hits in a progression. I just remember my first hit, my head just like smacking off the bottom of the pool going, that doesn't feel like a soft hit,
Yeah.
And just like really feeling it in my neck, like I had whiplash and your head gets banged out along the tank. And you're at the bottom of a pool, you're breathing compressed gas. And the way the physics works is if you bolt to the surface, that compressed gas expands in your lungs as you bolt, and those air bubbles can go into your joints or into your brain and kill you pretty instantly. So every one of these hits is like a life or death situation of, is this guy going to bolt? Or if you're doing it with a partner, is my partner going to bolt? Am I going to bolt and drag my partner up with me and kill me? So from almost the first instance of all of our training in explosive ordnance disposal is high risk training, whether we're diving, jumping, shooting, doing demolitions. So on a day-to-day basis, it's life or death. And they're trying to instill that in us very early, that there's no joking around, there's no messing around, there's no mediocrity. And at the time, the phrase for EOD was initial success or total failure.
Wow.
And imagine having that pressure on you.
Initial success.
I already put enough pressure on me to be successful internally. And now another slogan saying initial success or total failure. Because in my line of work, you snip the wrong thing, you touch the wrong thing, you move in the wrong way. Not only are you dead, but maybe everybody else around you is dead.
When you're going through this 2-year process of training, what do you remember as one of the darkest or hardest moments of going, I don't think I can do this, or when you really got to your lowest point?
Darkest and hardest time. I was in the IED portion of school. You'd already passed through a portion the initial portion where you learn how to just do a reconnaissance, where you learn how to just approach an explosive device without killing you and everybody else. Then you move into ground where you're looking at like hand grenades, landmines, rockets, mortars. Then you go into air where you're looking at like things shot from airplanes, either air to air or air to ground missiles.
There's so many ways that they come up with to kill people.
Oh, it's unbelievable. And then you finally get to what was then the bread and butter, which was improvised explosive devices. And this is where you train to put on the bomb suit and you're going down range on a something. You don't know what it is. You don't know what the components are. Each one of them can look different.
Yeah.
And it's in Florida. It's 104, 105 degrees, 90+% humidity.
Or 100%.
And you put on a 90-pound bomb suit that doesn't breathe.
Yeah.
That's got little fans in it that just, all it does is not to keep you cool, but to just prevent moisture from showing up on the on the screen.
Yeah.
On your visor that you're looking through. And it's all top heavy. And you're going down range with tools and X-ray and then a percussion actuated neutralizer, which is like a shotgun barrel that could shoot different rounds depending on what you needed to defeat a battery or defeat a switch or defeat a wire. And on the first...
And you have no gun.
No gun on this one. You can have like one strapped to your chest, but in training we didn't. And I went down and I forget the first one, but I failed. Whatever I did, they have things called a 16-point hit. So you could make an 85 or above on whatever written test or a practical test, and you could still pass. But if you had a 16-point hit, that meant you did something that could kill you and or everybody else.
Yeah.
And so you automatically failed. So this was my second attempt through. And you only get 2 tries at any test, and then you're booted out of the whole program.
And this is your second attempt.
And this is my second attempt going up. And so I go down, and I remember this was an ammo can with a taut wire going across it. So I had to X-ray it, come back, view the X-ray, and figure out where I wanted to take my shot to take this out. And I come back downrange, and I adjust my percussion actuated neutralizer pan, and I accidentally hit the string, and the string went boing, but it didn't make the buzzer go off. It didn't make it like pop, explode.
Yeah.
And I kind of looked back at the instructor, and I just kept going. And I come back up range, and I thought I'd failed again.
Yeah.
And I thought I was out of EOD.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to go to a ship or something else and
Yeah.
wasn't going to live this dream. And he just said, "Good job." And I was like, what do you, either he didn't see it, or he was applauding the fact that I almost killed myself, but I kept going. And so, but after that, I had developed a nervous twitch in my right eye. My right eye would just twitch nonstop.
Stress.
Just the amount of stress. At EOD school, which is about a year and a half long, and then Navy EOD goes for an extra 10 weeks to do all the underwater. You learn one day, you study that afternoon, you come back the next morning, you study again, you take a paper test.
Yeah.
The next day, you go out, you do a practical walkthrough, you do all the practical stuff for that. You come the next day, you do another test. So you're testing on average every other day.
Wow.
And every one of those tests is a do or die. You move on or you go home.
Yeah.
So that amount of stress was just unbelievable on yourself. And so we saw guys who are brilliant, people who have been to Harvard, who have been to MIT, fail.
Break.
We saw, people get rolled back often, and people have to get sent back to the fleet, and they were just studs. And you're like, man, so every day of that school was just such intense pressure.
Yeah. And you made it.
And by the grace of God, made it through there.
And you're still kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out, like not living for Jesus.
Definitely not living for Jesus. Again, I had a church close by, and I would go there again just for like solace and to like have a place to like turn my brain off. And I would pray like, God, help me. But I wasn't fully surrendered because the night before I'd be out at the club with all the guys or going out drinking before, and had living girlfriends and doing everything nefarious that I shouldn't have been doing if I would have just read what the book said. But I wasn't reading what the book said. I just came to get the feeling.
Yeah.
I was just like a user, basically. And so get through EOD school, then you go to Army jump school for 3 weeks, learn how to jump out of planes. Then you go to EOD tactical
Got to do
school.
something with the Army. Come on.
Yeah. We call it Navy appreciation training.
Okay.
And then went out to do tactical training in San Diego, where you learn how to do everything from helos, all the insertion and extraction techniques. Then I went to my first unit, showed up right away, and then got sent to military free fall. Then went back to Florida to do advanced IEDs. And this is like every kid's dream, where you learn all these techniques to literally be MacGyver. And I remember my dad and I would watch MacGyver growing up, and he would read all these books about, the hero doing MacGyver-esque things and counter-espionage, counter-terrorism stuff. And we watched nothing but Rambo movies and Chuck Norris movies and Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. So I knew I wanted to be that. Yeah. And it wasn't. And then I got to advanced IEDs, and we're learning how to like defeat alarm systems, break into cars, break into houses.
For what purpose?
Pick locks.
Why do you need to know how to do that?
Any point in time, you could be called to have to go into a facility, break your way into something, and go defuse a very nasty problem. And like the culmination of that event, back in Florida, it's back in August. Yeah. I'm in a full chemical mop suit with a gas mask, rubber gloves, rubber boots, and I'm going up against an improvised radiological device with like 60 plus initiators on it.
And this is a testing.
And this is a testing in the shed. So it's probably 120, 130 in the shed, and I have an hour to fix this problem. And it gets down, like in the movies, to like the final 3 seconds, and I have to just make a clip, and the buzzer doesn't go off, the fake device doesn't kill me, and I just felt like collapsing there.
Yeah.
Pull off my boots, wring out liters of water.
Shut up. That much sweat.
That much sweat. And I'm like, man, this is no joke. And I haven't even showed up to the game yet.
You haven't even gone to war yet.
No, not at all. And so then I come back to my unit, and within a couple of days, they're like, we're deploying to Afghanistan.
So let me pause real quick. A lot of people would listen to this, and obviously we tell a lot of these stories, and it's kind of like, well, you got to do all this cool stuff and party and get all the girls and live in all this sin and have all this sex and you know what I'm saying? And like do all these things, right? So why can't I just live that way now and I'll figure it out later? I'll get fixed up. You know what I'm saying? Like, let me go have fun, and then I'll figure the God thing out after I do all the cool stuff and I have all the fun.
Yeah.
Like, what would you say to a 20-year-old?
I say, keep watching because it catches up.
All right.
I keep watching, it catches up.
All right.
So go to Afghanistan. I'm on a battalion staff there, which is not what you want to do. You want to go operate right away. So I had to go learn how to be basically a staff nerd and do staff nerd stuff. But we're in Kandahar. We're getting rocket and mortars on us every day. Yeah. The first day that I was
there. Did you have CRAMs to blow them up or shoot them or no?
I didn't even know what that was. At the time, we still had dirt roads, and we were just like, we had bomb shelters that we could jump in.
Yeah.
The very first day I landed in Afghanistan, we had a ramp ceremony for an Air Force EOD guy that lost his life.
Wow.
Either that day or the day before. And I'm standing on the runway in the rain, which at that point, I didn't even know it rained in Afghanistan, but I'm in the rain, and we're passing this coffin of an EOD guy that I don't know, but I feel like he's my brother. We're putting on the plane, and that was day one. And then we were living about a mile away from our headquarters building, right up against this new fence line that they had just put there. This fence line had no barbed wire. It was just a fence, like an 8 or 10 foot fence. And I just remember, and we had our weapons stored in an armory. I didn't even have a sidearm. I just remember sleeping with a hatchet on my chest, literally thinking like, well, if the Taliban comes over, I'm going to have to use this hatchet and my knife and just go to work.
Now, was that a legitimate threat, or were you just
legitimate,
green and afraid?
Green and afraid and legitimate threat. I mean, more often than not, you get woken up in the middle of the night and you're just in your underwear and flip-flops, and you throw your flak jacket and your helmet on, and you're just taking indirect fire. Yeah. Or pot shots that were coming in. Vehicle-borne IEDs would come and attack the gates and hit it. So there was this seemingly, it was like this odd eerie feeling of never being safe, but at the same time, they had like a coffee and donut shop and like a dude doing pizza delivery on base, and you're like,
where am I?
Where am I? So
sure.
your nervous system is just kind of wrecked.
Yeah.
Plus trying to just like adjust to what combat is, because you've always read about it, you've been studying it for years, and now you're in it, and it's nothing like you ever thought.
Yeah.
So my job there was to build all these explosive ordnance disposal locations across the South. And I'm an 01, maybe junior 02 at the time, and I'm in charge of like building these projects, and start working with the Air Force contractor who's an 06 to build these things. And I found out that he would invite me Friday night to like watch a movie, smoke cigars, and I didn't want to. I didn't really like the guy, but I started showing up, and then called back to my dad to have him send me cigars and little mini bottles of booze so I could grease the skids.
Yeah.
And as these programmatic reviews would come up and these construction builds would come up, my projects would keep getting to the top. And these other people way outranked me, were like, "How are you doing this?" And I was like, "I don't know. Maybe they just need the projects more." But I knew it was because I was like greasing the skids.
Yeah.
And my bosses were very happy with me. And there was one day that like something bad happened. The Taliban was attacking a radio station, and my executive officer called us junior officers together. I was like, "Hey, I'm going to need somebody to go out with another couple of EOD techs, hop on a bird, go do a specialized mission, go take down this radio tower, go blow it up so the Taliban can't keep using it to spread their message." He looks at another guy, not me, and said, "You're it, go on that." He looked at the other two guys that were there. He's like, "Brad, Nick, there's turds coming out of the stalls, out of the porta potties on our compound. I need you to go fix it." And I saw Nick just buckle. Like, he wanted to be in combat so bad. And I remember at that time, just like a Bible verse is like, if you're going to do anything, do it for the Lord. So I was like, "All right, Lord, if I got to go clean turds, I'll go clean turds." And so I did it. And
it was gross.
It was terrible.
Yeah.
We got it all fixed and all settled. But then not shortly after that, I got a Red Cross message that my mom had essentially died. She went to the hospital to get a procedure done on her stomach, and they said she could leave. She went to go pick up the flowers on the windowsill, and then her heart stopped.
Wow.
And Dad started doing CPR. They got nurses back in. They revived her. So I get this Red Cross message, and now my command was awesome, and they got me from Kandahar, Afghanistan, back to Raleigh, North Carolina in like 27 hours. But it was such a shell shock
To come
home. It was like I hadn't seen green in that long.
Yeah.
Everything's desert.
Oh, I remember.
I hadn't seen legs. I remember like you just don't see legs. You don't even realize that.
And you see a woman's legs and
And
it's
I
like,
just-
oh boy.
I remember standing in a grocery store just like feeling so out of place. But got mom home. She survived that. And then I get a call from my command saying, "Hey, you don't have to come back out here, but we want you to take the next platoon out." And I think they saw the hard work of getting that staff work done and literally cleaning up poop, and like, this guy's can go do it. And then I was able to quickly turn around, do another workup, go back to Afghanistan, this time in a northwestern province called Faryab, right across the border of Iran. And it was where all new IED material was coming across. So we were seeing new stuff that hadn't previously been in Afghanistan. So new threats.
Yeah.
Everything is a cat and mouse game. As soon as we would have something to counter a certain IED they were making, they would bring in another, and we'd have to learn how to fix it and fight through that. And on that deployment is when we had a film crew with us to basically follow us through. So not only was I a new platoon commander with new guys for the most part, going out into one of the most hostile and dangerous places in the world, I now had to keep a group of civilians alive and safe. And by the way, all of us are worried that if we mess up, it's now going to be on
film.
So not only was I a new platoon commander with new guys for the most part, going out into one of the most hostile and dangerous places in the world, I now had to keep a group of civilians alive and safe. And by the way, all of us are worried that if we mess up, it's now going to be on
film
and national TV. And that was like,
and the Navy was cool with that.
The Navy wanted it for sure, because Hurt Locker had just came out.
Yeah.
Recruitment was up.
Yeah.
They wanted more people to come into Navy EOD, special operations, diving, NSW, and this was just another way to get the story out.
Yeah.
And I remember my commanding officer sitting me and my chief down and be like, hey, we chose you guys. You're going to do this. And me and my chief just looked at each other and were like, all right, if we're going to do it, we're going to do it well. I went down and briefed the guys, and they were against it hard, fighting it really hard. Until a very pretty producer came in named Katie Gilbert, and all of a sudden they were like, let me show you everything.
Oh, yeah.
And they just let the floodgates open.
Hey, can I take you through this?
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, you guys are real Stonewall Jackson.
Yeah.
But we get to Afghanistan, and like one of the first days we're there, we go do routine disposal of some stuff that had been picked up or found out.
Yeah.
And we set up the shot, like a half mile away from our truck. Had the film guys come out there, set up GoPros around it, and they were like, hey, you guys stay here. We'll go back to the truck and just make sure everything's set up. And they had radios on them. We called down to them, and we're like, hey, just so you know, you're sitting on several hundred pounds of explosives. I have the trigger in my hand. If you make any one of us look bad, we can make this look like an accident. And it was not a joke. And after that, I felt like we really had their buy-in. And then just a couple weeks in.
So you guys set up that moment.
Yeah, we set up that moment. Like we needed to trust them as much as they needed to trust us. Like you don't have guns. You don't have any training in this. Do exactly what I say, or there's a high likelihood you will die. And so that was a defining moment for them. But once we got through that moment, we had them in our trucks going on all the missions that we deemed safe-ish, which was basically like if we were going to be in a convoy and we were going up against something routine and we didn't do anything much dismounted, we would take them with us. But we found out within about a week or two, we had a very high-powered camera system that had FLIR, infrared, and different remote sensing capabilities on it, but it was like in, 1080 HP. And these guys were able to plug their cameras into that camera and look through it and to take film through that camera. They'd spent so many years behind a camera. They were so good at it.
Yeah.
They were looking at the different sensors and picking out things that were possible IEDs before we ever could see them.
With the camera crew.
With the camera crew. So they just became an integrated part of our team.
What a blessing.
And they were amazing. And they brought in unique life stories, unique capability. So we just incorporated them into the team.
Yeah.
And they were just awesome assets.
What was the hairiest moment you had on that tour?
The hairiest moment, that was one episode, I think like episode 10. It's called Firefight.
Yeah.
We were going down this road named Shock Road to go meet with some leaders. And there were some Taliban influencers trying to influence that area. We've tried to go down this road several times before and just hit IED after IED. And this time they're like, we're going down no matter what. We had a huge convoy package, dozens of trucks. And we must have cleared 24, 3 dozen improvised explosive devices on the way down.
So this is something I've never understood. You go down there in your bomb suit. You found an IED, right?
So initially, we always try to put out a robot and do everything as remote as possible first.
Yep.
Only in a dire situation of life or extreme destruction of like very sensitive equipment will we ever go hands-on immediately. But
so it's not like a Hurt Locker.
But multiple times,
yeah,
that happens.
Right.
There's a tripwire. There's people around. You're standing on something. And you have to go hands-on.
Why don't they just blow you up? Why do they let you just arm it?
It depends on how the IED is set up. Some of them are pressure.
Okay.
So you have to apply a certain amount of pressure.
Some like a truck driving by.
Some of them are just for anti-vehicle for trucks. Some of them are small for personnel that just want to blow a toe off or blow a leg off and just slow the whole formation down. Some of them are a remote control. And we would come in with electronic jammers around our convoy so they couldn't get the electronic control to go. Some were command detonated where they would see you come, and they had just a hard wire that would come. So there was every form that you had to think about.
Yeah.
What's the threat? What's the most likely? What is this IED going to be? And how is it going to kill me? And then, not only how is that going to kill me, what am I not seeing around me that's going to kill me?
Yeah.
Do they have a secondary device, a tertiary device? They have a string of devices lined up. Everything out there could kill you.
And can the bomb suit actually stop? Like, can the bomb suit actually stop a bomb from blowing you up?
It depends on how close you are to the bomb.
Yeah.
And then how big it is.
Yeah.
But if that's your last resort, it's your last line of defense and safety, you're going to use it to try and give yourself the highest likelihood of success. But more often than not, and by the time we got there, we only broke out the bomb suit a couple of times because the Taliban and Al-Qaeda had now seen EOD. They knew what they were capable of. They knew that we were defeating their devices, and they would use snipers to shoot the EOD techs. So we didn't want to stand out. We often wore Army uniforms, so we looked like just every other grunt, so our EOD guys wouldn't get targeted.
Yeah. So the hairiest moment, you come in through Shock Avenue.
Yeah,
What happens?
coming through Shock Road, we finally get down to the village. The Army dismounts, crosses maybe 2 or 3 football field distance into this village, and they're speaking with the elders there. And then it starts to get dark. The Army guys are crossing back across the wadi, and then just all hell breaks loose. We start taking indirect fire, direct fire from small arms, and then RPGs start flying. We finally get all the Army guys like back into a truck, not even their original. We just stuffed dudes in our truck, and we were like, all right, we just got to push. We got to get out of here. And as soon as our convoy pushed, the truck behind me blows up. And so now I'm up in the turret. I'm firing on all these targets that are coming at, and RPGs flying.
With a 50 cal?
I got a 240 Golf
Okay.
on this one. But at the time, now the weather's starting to turn. So it went from like maybe a balmy 40 or 50 now in like the teens.
Yeah.
And so my barrel started freezing up as I was using the gun so much. It starts jamming. I have to just start grabbing small arms weapons from the Army guys below and my other EOD guys in the truck and just start firing. I got the junior guys on the wheel at this point in time, and we go completely blackout, so they wouldn't have any lights to be able to target us with RPGs.
Okay.
My enlisted team leader gets out of the front passenger seat and then starts going back with his metal detector to get back to this truck that just blew up behind us, which probably meant we were sitting on the IED for some amount of time ourselves.
Yeah.
And he starts pulling these guys out. They all have lower body injuries, broken legs, broken feet, stuff like that from the blast that came up.
In this truck?
In this truck. So him and a medic start pulling these Army guys out, stuffing more dudes into our truck, getting the healthy guys out. We just stuff all the injured guys in our truck. And by this time, like, snow's coming down pretty heavily. And we got everybody in. Comms are starting to break down like crazy. Interference and just chaos of war. And so I just shouting to my driver, like, we just got to get off the X. Just drive. And so this truck in front of us wasn't going anywhere. And he pulls off, and there was a ledge, and our truck just goes over the ledge.
No.
And I thought we were going to roll over. I thought I was going to get smashed. And I was like, that's it.
Which kills so many.
And we had already had all these injured guys in the truck. So luckily we didn't flip. Again, my team leader gets out, hooks a tow onto another truck, and we get luckily pulled out without flipping over. And then like fight our way off of that X. I think we had to do another couple of IEDs on the way home. And then we get back home, we offload all the injured guys. We're literally scraping out with a broom all the cartridge casings and blood that was just everywhere. And we got to go back out. We got to go get that truck with reloaded guns, gear, and more people.
Because there's more guys in that truck.
Oh, it's just sensitive items in there. And we try to bring that equipment back so they can't use any part of it. So that was pretty hairy. But at the time...
So did you go back and get it?
Yeah, we went back and got it. And again, just more IEDs. And it was just a battle in and out every time we went anywhere. with that.
And your faith.
I was just like constant prayer, like, God, get us out of this, protect us, get us out of this.
It's funny because the SEALs don't pray, from what I've heard and all the interviews I've done. The bomb guys that are getting blown up, you guys seem to, sounds like you pray a little more.
It was like, I think it was just a constant, like, I made an effort with my guys before we went out to pray with them.
Yeah.
And you'll see that in the show, but I would like try to pray with them to try and be some kind of spiritual leader out there.
Yeah.
Because that's, I thought, the minimum that I could do. And luckily we didn't lose anybody and we didn't get anybody hurt.
Yeah.
And the teams that had gone before us, either somebody had died or gotten maimed or injured, and teams after us did. I felt so fortunate to bring all my guys back and all the civilian bomb crew back from that deployment unscathed. So I don't know if it was my micro prayers or God's providence over us or what, but getting them back was amazing.
Talk to me about a situation where you're in a combat zone, someone could shoot you, and you are dismantling an IED.
We had got called to do an IED after this big snow, and the Afghan police would set up on these mountaintops across these roads to try and protect the one road that's going through this area.
Yeah.
From people coming planting bombs in it. Well, I guess it snowed. They couldn't make it up, but the Taliban made it up this path and planted these little toe poppers. They were these very small, made out of tinfoil and BBs, about the size of a pancake, and they were attached to an 81 millimeter mortar. Less than a pound of pressure would make these things go off. There was one down low and kind of one up high, and my partner and team leader, Ricky Tebow, went up and took the high one, and I'm taking the low one, and we can't be on the steps. We know that the IEDs are on the steps. So I'm literally scaling the side of this mountain, pulling out my knife and digging it into the side so I can hold on with one hand to my knife, use the metal detector on the other to like sweep and find where the IED is. And about that time is when like shots start going off. We don't know where they're coming from or what they are, but AK rounds. And at that point in time, one thing that we kind of always learned through training was dismantling bombs is like listening to classical music in one ear and rock music in the other. And you just got to focus on the classical music. And so you're just trying to control your breathing, go through all your procedures, don't move too fast, don't do anything stupid. It's just like a thinking man's game. You can't brute force your way through this. So it's really slowing down your heart rate, making the right moves. And so I had a stringer charge on me, which is like C4 on det cord that you can move. And I just had to make sure that I could place it very close to, but not touching, enough to blow this thing up. And had to do it in concert with my other partner who was up dealing with another IED maybe 50 yards away. And we just had to make sure we didn't kill each other. All the time we have Afghan police with us, they're armed. And a lot of times those guys could be Taliban supporters. You didn't know it. So you just never knew when you might get shot in the back while you're trying to do your job.
I've heard, we've done some training and some work in the Army EOD community, specifically out of Fort Bragg. And the feedback that we've gotten from the chaplains is that there's a very high atheist or agnostic, but strong, like there is no God kind of, at least in Army EOD. Is that what you've seen?
I think it's a product and maybe a mechanism of most of the guys that we get are the smartest intellectual guys you can possibly get.
Yeah.
The people that have, only people in the Navy that have a higher test score to entry is the nuclear submariners, people that are working on the nukes in the subs. And then our guys are like 1 or 2 points below for acceptance. So we have just an unbelievably high intelligence level. And a lot of times that high intelligence combats faith if they have a worldview that science is the only mechanism, that creation isn't possible. And so a lot of these guys are very technically minded.
Yeah.
So if in faith, if you don't give them apologetics, if you don't give them facts, if you don't give them science, it's very hard for them to believe. And it was a huge barrier to me because that's how I believed. And I had this light faith from just my parents bringing me up, but I needed facts. I needed science. I needed archaeology. I needed things to help me prove or disprove certain things in the Bible. Like where's that at? And that didn't come until, a couple of years ago when I really started going down the apologetics route of how science actually works wonderfully to build up what the Bible says and what theologians say.
Does anyone, so I get the intellectual piece. Does anyone have to do with like having life and death in your hands on a consistent basis? And that like you're controlling life and like you're in control of life and death.
I think there's like slightly, I think there's probably an agnostic streak. And I would even say nobody that does EOD, they're not normal. There's no normal person that would go down on an explosive device
and work on it.
I can handle this.
Yes.
Like that's not a regular character trait in anybody.
Do you feel powerful when you defeat the device?
You feel so powerful. It's such an addicting high.
So describe it.
You've been trained to this unbelievable level on being like it's like you're on a USA national basketball team for the Olympics and you got chosen to do that. And when we fly, we often got our own like C-130s or C-5s or C-17s just for my platoon. We felt like rock stars. We got every piece of gear that we wanted.
The Army guys worship you when you show up.
We could wear our hair long. We could have like beards and like everybody's we're bros. The people that came into EOD, they're former Olympians, NCAA champions in different sports. I mean, we have just savage studs and stud women that are in our community. And so you get trained to this high level to go do something very surgical, like a surgeon does. And it's life or death. And when you win against something like that, you feel very powerful. You feel very enabled, which often then later in life, I felt I could handle anything. Any terrible situation in life I could handle. It was only when it came to personal relationships that were just dissolving and falling apart around me. I wasn't trained to that. I didn't know how to handle it. And nothing in my training that taught me how to diffuse bombs would help me revive these relationships or help me from wrecking them in the first place.
So you're addicted to porn. Closet alcoholic, performing like
high-performing alcoholic.
You probably have a pretty good ego.
And high-stakes gambling is what we call it with improvised explosive devices.
Okay. So you're a high-stakes gambler. And yet you said earlier the story unfolds.
Yeah. So after that Afghan deployment, I then went to do a mine countermeasures deployment. Now I'm in charge of a platoon that's doing all underwater activity.
Have you diffused a mine underwater?
Not in real combat.
Okay.
So all training exercises are simulated.
Got it. But you went to that team.
Yeah, I went to that team. And again, even though you're not in combat, our day-to-day life, every day could be tragic.
Yeah.
And one day we were out doing an exercise called Bold Alligator. My team was on a Canadian minesweeper. Gorgeous day. We're diving at 100 feet against a simulated mine, single diver. We put in our junior guy who was just a stud. And normally in most military operations, as you said at the beginning of this, we go together 2 by 2. There's some circumstances when you're going against a bomb, we only send one guy down.
Yeah.
And you're the lone guy down there. It's called going down range, and you're the guy. And so this day, Taylor Gallant was the guy. He went down at 100 feet. He was on a Mark 16 rebreather. And in training, we attach him to a float. But in real life, he would just go by himself.
Wow. Just swim down there.
With no comms and go to work.
Tank of oxygen.
And go.
Wow.
So in training, we had a line with a buoy, and we started getting some weird buoy signals. So we thought it might be emergency.
There's no comms.
There's no comms.
Wow.
Because underwater mines, they can be set off acoustically, so through sound going through the water, magnetically. So you have no magnetic pieces on you whatsoever. Seismically, like if you hit the bottom or if you make something shudder along there, or a pressure wave going over the mine in a certain signature. So every way that can kill you. not to include every way that just being underwater 100 feet can kill you.
Yeah. And there's current, right?
Current,
Yeah.
sea life, pitch black at that depth. So you're using handheld sonars to try and find the threat. So we get some weird line pull signals. We have to send my chief down. And by the time that my chief got down to him, he was unconscious. We bring him back up to the surface and get him over to the emergency chamber. We had done this over and over again in training. And those days before we did this op, just make sure we had everything smooth. And by the time we got him into the chamber, he was dead. And that.
And you were right there.
Hurt more than being in combat. In combat, your mindset, you've already written your letter home. You've already gotten your will and testament done. You've already kind of resigned yourself like, I could die. But when you're in training, you don't expect it, and it hits you harder and it hits it differently. And that really, and I was still expected to lead through this. So he had just died. I remember like praying with my guys and trying to give them strength. And we were just immediately writing down like the timeline, what happened. And I was okay. And then the captain of the ship, the Canadian, came over the ship 1MC and like said to the whole crew, like, unfortunately, we lost a diver. Like, and that's when I broke down. And then my guys held me. And then immediately the ship steams to shore. We go to a hotel and we just start drinking and telling stories about Taylor. And then we were ordered not to go to sleep. So now it's like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. NCIS investigator comes.
Oh, because you have to investigate. Yeah.
And they wanted to do an investigation immediately. And we've been working all day, been out on ships preparing for this. We haven't been getting like great sleep. We're already tired. And so now we have this NCIS investigator like just digging deep into everything that we did to see if there's foul play or see if, just to rule out everything. So we go through that. And then we go home. And immediately, I was in 2 more different investigations, like a diving mishap board and then active duty death board, where I'm sitting in front of several EOD 06s of our community and from other communities and having to go through everything, every decision I made, not just that day, but leading up to that time from I was a platoon commander, showing all of our diving records, showing all our training records. And they were just doing this deep dive into me as a leader, asking just brutal leadership questions. And then, having to admit where we fell short or we had to cut something or we didn't have time to do a thing. We had to move past. And the investigation, finally came out that it was, most likely a user error of some sort with the rig. The rig came back fine. So there wasn't a whole lot of closure, but then had to do the funeral with his family. We were out in Kentucky and the whole town, the whole city came together for that funeral. And I had to speak at it. And it was like such an emotionally draining time. And then we had to jump right back on the train. We got another guy in, like right when we came back. He had to fill the shoes. We had to get certified and deploy. And then I just kind of felt this. And then when we deployed, they were giving this other team all these jobs. And I felt just jaded, like that they thought I killed one of my guys. And that's why they weren't sending us on the premier jobs to go do. And then I just boiled up into this anger, a very deep, destructive anger that was fed with more alcohol, with more porn. And then came back from that at the very end of that deployment, broke my collarbone, had to come home a couple days early to bury my
How'd you break it?
We were playing ultimate football on a field in Bahrain.
Yeah.
Just a bunch of alpha males out there, like
came down wrong,
killing each other. Just came down wrong on it, shattered it. I'm in the hospital. Another one of my guys gets in a drunken altercation. He gets in big trouble. They fly me and him back so he can go to captain's mess and I can be there. I get just destroyed by my commanding officer at the time. Right after that, go bury my grandma. And I remember holding my grandmother's casket in a sling, and I couldn't cry. I didn't have any tears. I couldn't even bring the emotion up. And so I didn't even know that was a problem. So no time off, just keep steamrolling. At this point in time, I'm married, and the marriage just starts dissolving. And I'm in grad school, and it was supposed to be like a break, and it wasn't. I still just had the same intensity of combat, but I was just applying it to school, and I wasn't giving myself any rest. And she moved out and moved away, and we tried to do distance, and it just started faltering and fumbling, which just further drove me down pornography and alcohol, and now stepping outside of my marriage and just doing everything that I didn't think was possible. And then she stepped out of marriage, and then we we just got divorced, and that was a point in time where I was just angry at God. I was so angry. And so I just started jumping into everything the world had to offer. Just more alcohol, um, more parties, more women, uh, everything nasty that you could do, just trying to earn more money through side hustles and like try and feel empowered there, posting as much as I could on Facebook and Instagram, showing how awesome my life was on the outside, but how just I was just so empty on the inside. And I remember very familiarly when some guy was like, "Man, your life looks awesome. You get to go to so many cool places and do so many cool things." And I was thinking, "Man, your life looks so awesome. You have a wife and you have kids and like stability." And I just had completely forgot that one of the 10 commandments was like, "Thou shalt not covet." And here I was trying to make everybody covet, my life. I was
Yeah.
really just doing it to like cover the pain of a divorce, because divorce is failure. And I don't know if you remember the slogan, initial success or total failure.
Yeah.
And so I just felt like a failure, jumped into another relationship that was just really bad. At this point in time, I'm like really abusing over the counter sleep medicine just to get a couple hours of sleep a night. And I do another deployment to Bahrain, and now I'm the operations officer in charge of like 12 different platoons operating in Syria and Yemen, doing counter mine stuff in the Red Sea, doing counter Syria stuff. And they're seeing everything, mines, suicide vests, cruise missiles, chemical munitions. I mean, it is just nonstop while I'm there. Get back home from that one, and I'm on empty at this point in time. But at that point in time, I got selected to be the XO executive officer of the Navy Dive School. So back to the training command that I started at, and that's like a dream job. And so I take it, and I thought I was getting out, but I took it, and it was awesome. And I got to work with one of the most amazing mentors. Was my commanding officer named Sam Brassfield. And I don't know if you've seen Ted Lasso.
Yeah.
That show, but we called him the Ted Lasso of Navy.
Oh,
He was
nice.
just that kind of guy. He was
Yeah.
amazing leader, and I wasn't going to church. Not only was I not going to church, I was pulling other people into sin. I was throwing parties, I was throwing ragers, but also I'm supposed to be this exemplary executive officer, like running this training command of just superstars and
Yeah.
studs. And so I'm just on this razor's edge of just about to fall apart. The relationship I was in then, and the girl that was living with me, I broke up with her, and I remember going through the gate in the morning, and I never listened to music, and I never really listened to rap music, but I was listening to this somehow rap song, and he was just talking about the best way to go about it was just kill yourself. And I don't know where the song came from. And I'm going through the gate, and I'm hearing this song, and I'm just crying as I'm showing my cat card to go in the gate. And I pull into my parking spot, which says executive officer over it, and I'm just crying. I'm just empty. And I guess another guy had saw me that worked at another command, and he came in that day, and he's like, "Hey, I saw you like crying in your car. Like, you okay?" Of course, stiff upper lip it. "Yeah, I'm fine. Everything's good. Sorry." And I keep going as XO and trying to do these mentor sessions with the junior officers coming in. And we happened to have a Spanish exchange officer that was there. And he knocked on my door one afternoon. And I was like, "Yeah, come in. What can I help you do?" I'm used to just solving problems as I come through the door. And he's like, "Hey, XO, I really want to just see if you're okay." I was like, And I just started crying. I was like, I'm just not okay.
I'm not okay.
Not okay. And he just kind of hugged me and said he loved me. Um, and it just so happened at that point in time, we were trying to build this human performance capability inside the Special Warfare Centers and human performance program. And we were focusing a lot on getting athletic trainers, getting sports and conditioning coaches, physical therapists. And I'm reading this book called On Combat. And it was talking about how 90% of combat is actually here and in here.
Yeah.
And here we're spending all this money, time and talent to like work on the physical part of it. I was like, hey, I was talking to my boss. I was like, I really think we need to get like a sports psychologist in here. And he was like, yeah, I agree with you. And he happened to know a guy, Dr. Ed Najir. He was a 20-year Navy SEAL and then became a psychologist after that. And he ran a program in prisons. And this program had the lowest rate of people returning to prison after they went through it. So I was going to be in the test pilot of this course. There were some other instructors that were in there. They were absolute studs, Bronze Star winners, Silver Star winners, just complete idols for combat. Those kind of guys. So you just look at them, you're like, I wouldn't mess with any one of these guys. And we had some of the new students in there that were waiting to class up to see how they would work through it. And within 5 minutes, every single eye in that class was crying. And he asked one question: who's the person that hurt you the most? And at that point in time, like, it was my ex-wife, and the fallout from that. Not that she hurt me that most, but the situation hurt me that bad. And I'd never vocalized it. I never told a single person that I was hurt or that I was struggling or anything. But hearing everybody else's stories of abusive parents or abusive father, abusive relationships, or being abused as a child, sexually or physically, everybody's crying. It's like, oh my God, this is the first safe place I've felt in, at that point in time, maybe 14 years to be emotional. Because when you're a leader at a special ops unit, like, you don't show emotion. Like, you don't show weakness. You don't show anything. You don't want your guys to feel any trepidation,
hesitancy
whatsoever. You're expected to steam first into the worst scenario possible, in the worst environment possible, against the worst enemy possible, and know how to solve the problem.
Yeah.
And this is the first time that I was finally admitting, man, I'm hurting. And then he talked to us about something that I carry with me to this day, and I'll share it to anybody. It was called the Resiliency Vehicle, like a car with 4 tires on it. Each tire has a purpose, and each tire has to be properly inflated. The first tire is the physical tire. Are you taking care of your physical body? Are you eating right, sleeping right, and exercising? And that's what the majority of the time we've been focusing on.
Yeah.
Then the next one was, are you taking care of the mental tire? And that was, are you able to visualize? Are you able to goal set?
Yeah.
Are you able to read things and learn from experience? The next tire, as it starts getting harder, is the emotional tire.
Yeah.
Like, how are you taking care of your emotional health? I'm like, what's emotional health?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Like, emotional health. But I'd started to feel just from that cry session before, I was like, man, something's not regulated in my system. And then the last one was spiritual health and purpose. And man, that hit me like such a punch in the face. And he was saying, we attack the physical all the time because that's easy. So we can go to the gym for an hour or 2 a day. Mental, we can read some books here and there, but where do we get the emotional and the spiritual inflation into our tires? Because if they're not properly inflated, any one of them can send you off the road and down into a ditch. And I had just suffered 2 complete tears in my ACLs. So I was sitting through this class with torn ACLs. First time I couldn't do the physical thing. Like, that was just completely taken from me. And it was the first time for the 2 or 3 hours I would normally work out in the morning, I couldn't do anything. So I would read. So at least I was doing the mental portion. And I was trying to work on some like business side hustle stuff. And some of these books were just increasingly talking about the spiritual aspect. And then during that time is when The Chosen came out. And I remember watching I don't know how I heard about it, or maybe saw it on Facebook or something. And the first episode, I just started bawling.
Yeah, the first one will get you.
And I felt like the character of Mary, who just had so many demons inside of me. And I just needed somebody to release them, to just take them off. I had carried so many chains and put so many rocks in my rucksack over the past 12, 15 years of just nonstop movement, action, and achievement, that I didn't know how to take off any of them. And so, at that point in time, I started reading more books, and one was Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill, and just finding out how the enemy is trying to attack us in every way, through our pride, through overachievement, through the alcohol addictions, through the porn addictions. So I started trying to fight it on my own accord. I started learning about fasting. I did a couple fasts, and I was able to break away from alcohol pretty easy. Porn had its hooks into me.
Yeah.
I've been in there for 30 years and abusing relationships and thinking of women as objects of mine or things to have for a short time and never really honoring them. So as I was leaving Panama City, I was going out to California to go to the Navy Special Warfare Command. I stopped in Colorado. I was staying with my brother Craig, and we started drinking. And then we got into a massive fist fight, brother on brother fist fight. His twin was there. We almost never get together, all three of us, because we're all three in the military. So one of the few times that my parents were there, Craig and I get into this knockout brawl. And then Micah comes in and tries to choke out. I finally go to leave, and my dad comes out, and my dad's showing emotion, which never happens. And he's like, just don't leave. I was ready to drive drunk and just leave, be gone in the middle of a snowstorm.
Have you ever wondered how you can make an impact in the military? Have you ever sat back and said, man, I wish I would have served. I wish I could do more for this country. Well, today I want to call you into the fighting force. Guys, Engage Your Destiny is reducing suicide on military bases across the world, and we have 5 locations currently where we are doing direct ministry and follow-up with soldiers, and we have more bases that are opening up to us in New York, in Korea, in Kuwait, in places that I would have never even thought in my life could open up to us. And so that's where I'm making an appeal to you. This is only possible through donors and through the selfless sacrifice of you supporting our ministry on a monthly basis. I want to encourage you that benefactors as well as foundations have made our operational budget possible so that 100% of your gifts go directly towards soldiers in the military all over the world. When you partner with us, you're going to get one of our gift boxes, which is filled with some incredible treats that are going to bless your life, that you can wear, that you can show proudly, and that you can drink your coffee out of. So friends, come and join the fighting force, and let's advance this mission today.
And then I came to California. I had met up with a travel nurse who was also a Christian. And we were having sex. And then I break things off. It didn't feel right. I was trying to do the Bible app and trying to institute some religiosity.
You're trying to find it. Yeah.
I'm trying to find it, search. And then I break things off. And then a couple weeks later, she calls me back and she's pregnant. And that was like rock bottom. And I felt pretty estranged from my brother. I'd ruined relationships with my family. I now got this girl that I didn't even know pregnant. And I didn't have a plan to kill myself, but if I got hit by a bus, I wasn't going to be mad about it. And so I'm struggling through that. And then all I know to do then is just go back to church. And so I go to the Rock Church here in San Diego. Through a crazy circumstance we don't have time to get into now, I meet this guy, Pastor McGuire, and he brings me into a men's group. And then I start learning how you can be a Christian. You can say you're saved. You can be baptized. But the enemy can still have you in bondage in certain areas in your house. And one pastor talked once about how an analogy to a house. You can buy a house. You live in a house, or you rent, right? A house, right? So technically it's yours. But if you leave that house and you leave a door open or you leave a window open, a robber can come inside your house and can steal, kill, or destroy something in that house. So then it's your job as the owner of that house to close those windows and close those doors.
Yeah.
And that was the first time that I was like, a robber probably got in my house and is hiding in some deep, dark closet of something that affected me when I was 5 years old, the first time I snuck and got porn, that I had never brought to the light.
Yeah.
And so through that men's group and that safe place of community, I'm bringing up stuff I'm 5 years old about how that affected me and how that affected my sexuality, and how at some points I thought I was homosexual. So I had to like keep having sex with women to prove to myself that I wasn't gay. And I had never spoken of this to another man before. And then after, I was having crazy night terrors. I was sweating through my sheets. I was having very vivid dreams. I was trying to come off of alcohol. I was trying not to use like sleep aids. And finally, like, I confessed that to this pastor, and like so nonchalantly, he's like, "Yeah, we'll handle that tonight." I was like, "Well, what?" And
I
so
can do that, cowboy.
yeah, I'm like, "Oh man, are we gonna have like a seance or something? And is there gonna be some smoke?" And we just come in there that night, and he was talking about spiritual warfare and bondages. And the guys just circled around me. I told them what was going on. I confessed some things I'd never confessed to anybody. They laid hands on me, prayed for me, cast out these evil things that I had been doing, or that I felt not even I was doing, that had control over certain parts of my life. And that night I got the best sleep of my entire life. And from then on, I was like, oh, maybe that's what I was meant to do. And maybe that's why I went through all these like pretty hard situations. So now I'm helping to lead the men's group, and I'm helping to lead some of these guys out of bondage, and not from a place of supremacy or being a positional leader, but being just a servant that's gone there before them or has been in the same situation before them. And now it's like I feel the brotherhood now in that Christian men's group that I never felt, or I was really striving for in the military. I just couldn't get it. And then just in a few weeks, like I felt closer to these guys than I felt to any other men in my life. And then through that healing and learning how to say I'm sorry, repaired relationships with my brother. I was going through a long court battle with my daughter's mom, and finally I just Googled what does the Bible say about going to court? I came up with like 1 Corinthians 6, where it's talking about, and she was a believer, about how believers shouldn't be taking each other to court, how it should be solved in the church. So I called up her pastor and said, "Hey, I want to solve this through the church. Can you help us?" And he was a little bit hesitant. And I was like, "Have you read 1 Corinthians 6? Bro, this is your job."
Yeah.
And so he helped us through it. And when she went back home, she linked up with her old high school flame, and he's an amazing Christian man. And through that process and through the wisdom of Solomon was another about how Solomon decided between two mothers of who were arguing over this one child, both saying it was their child. And he said, "Bring me a sword, I'll cut the child." And the real mother said, "No, let her have it." And so that really worked in my heart to say, like, I don't want my daughter to be split between two homes.
Yeah.
Take her. I trust that God can be the father that I couldn't, to take care of her, and hopefully in some way, somehow, he's gonna reestablish that relationship, and I just have to have faith, and that's still something I'm working through. And then, man, not shortly after that, I had pretty much just shunned off all women, closed myself off into monk mode, and all these people were like, "Hey, Brad, you should get out there and start dating again. Like, God's got somebody for you." And I was like, "No, he doesn't. Like, have way too many red flags."
Yeah. And I don't deserve it.
Yeah. Divorce, child out of wedlock, like just crazy things I've had to get through and get over it. And people convinced me to just like get on a dating app. And I read this one book called The New Rules to Love, Sex, and Dating by Andy Stanley. And the main portion of that is you're not yet the person you want to be with wants to be with yet. So you need to work on yourself and your walk with God, and then God will place somebody in your life once you're ready.
Yeah.
So I get on this, I link up with the most beautiful girl I've ever seen in my life. For some reason, she thinks I'm cute or wants to link up with me. And I go to pick up this guy for our Wednesday night men's Bible study. And I'm telling him, like, I'm going on a date tomorrow night. It's first date in a long time. I feel like I'm damaged goods, but maybe I can just go on a date and start and like knock the rust off and like see if I can just talk to women and have some kind of like courage there.
Yeah.
And I'm like a bomb tech. I went down on bombs, but now I'm scared to like talk to women because of the trauma of all the past failed relationships. And he just looks at me cool, calm. He's like, I pray that's going to be your wife. And I was like, whoa, bro, like, don't put that on me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just trying to knock rust off.
Yeah.
Just learn how to talk to women again. And, I go on that date, and by the end of that date, I'm pretty sure this is my wife.
Wow.
And by the next morning, she came over for breakfast. I was flying out to North Carolina to go see my daughter for 10 days. I was very honest about that. I was very honest about my failures with her on the first day. And by the time she dropped me off the airport, I definitely knew I was gonna marry this girl. And then 4 months later, we were married. And then not long after that, we have our baby, who's just perfect. And as I was just like holding my baby, just like, God, I'm so messed up. Like, how could you still love me? And it was really like just a defining moment to say, I need to be a good man to these ladies so that my daughter knows what a good man looks like. And I just felt in a way like completely redeemed. And it's funny. Lots of people ask me, like, do you have PTSD from combat? I said, not a day. Not one day have I ever had like a bad dream about combat. I like lived for combat. All of my PTSD comes from failed relationships,
Sin.
and sin that I put on myself, and the breaking of those relationships through my own sin or my own failures. And like, that PTSD is brutal. And so trying to let go of that and let God have that every time it tries to pop up, and an evil voice say, like, you're not good enough or you don't deserve this. And I go, no, you're right, I don't. But Jesus covered that. Like, Jesus forgave that. And so now I'm on this new life path of really ministering to men, really stepping out in faith to people I do jujitsu with, other younger guys that are in the military that I just know organically, and helping them step through their faith from a place of empathy, which I had none just a couple of years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. On an empathy scale of 1 to 10, I would have been like a -2. I was like very Darth Vader in my personality assessment tests at the time. And now Jesus has just completely transformed my life, and I can slow down and help people in need. Now I can slow down and just be with a person who's hurting. I can cry now, which just didn't happen for
Isn't that amazing?
a long time. And it feels really good. So and even now I'm just trying to surrender more and more of my life to Jesus. Let him take more of those burdens off of me, and like really give back to the next series of warfighters that are going to go out there.
Come on.
They're going to have different struggles. They're going to have different enemies. They're going to have different operating environments that are terrifying to me.
Yeah.
That make the global war on terror look easy, what they're having to step through. So now I know it as my role to like really develop those people spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and physically to carry that watch and carry that weight, and hopefully come back not with damaged relationships.
Yeah. Last question. What is one characteristic about Jesus that makes you say, I want to follow him?
Jesus as a servant, and how he stopped everything in his very busy, very impactful life to wash his disciples' feet. That single act was amazing to me. His act of passion on the cross, unbelievable, undeniable. It's so brutal. It's almost hard to relate to. But when I try to relate to, like, can I just wash somebody else's feet? Even that's hard, you know? And I remember just the first time I tried to do that, we had a first fight with Nicole, and we were bringing exterior stuff from past relationships in, and I just said, we got to stop. I got a bucket and got some water and just washed her feet. I said, all that stuff's in the past. All that stuff's gone. And that was the first time I really felt in just that symbolic moment to her that Jesus just could easily do that. Hey, everything in your past, it's gone. I'm making a new way. And he says somewhere in the Bible, like, I'm making a way through the desert. I'm making a path for you. And so for anybody that's out there that you think you're in a desert, or you think you're in a jungle and you're surrounded, or you think you're on a mountaintop alone or a valley alone, Jesus can show up and make a path for you. It can make a way. And no matter how disastrous your past has been, in an instant, Jesus can just wash your feet and forget all of that and set you on a new way. And I think that is the most amazing part about him. He can do it in an instant. Well, yes, but in some ways, he's going to take you on a journey through that too, of multiple feet washings. Like, I keep failing, and Jesus has to keep washing my feet. I keep failing, and I keep washing my feet. And I think that act of servitude really stands out to me about Jesus.
Awesome. Thanks, Brad.
Yeah, thank you.
Can I pray for you?
Yeah.
Father God, I just thank you for this man and this warrior and all that you've done for his life and through his life. God, I pray you would take all of the lessons and all the mistakes and use them, Lord, to multiply good fruit in young men and women today.
Yes, Lord.
Father, I pray for this man as a father, that you would use his fatherhood for healing and restoration in his life and in his family line. And God, I pray for your favor on his life, that God, you would give him your desires and make his desires yours. God bless him and give him your strength in Jesus' name.
Amen. Yeah, brother. Thank you.
Appreciate the opportunity.